Hi everybody, I'm going to show you how to build a staircase using a track saw and the Festool Domino tool. First I'm going to show you the staircase, and you see it has a winder section, which means it goes around a corner. And this is a winder using 3 steps. And we're going to take a walk up the steps, but right now I'm just going to show you from down here, and then they continue up to the 2nd floor. So this house is in Japan, and that's where I'm filming from. So let's take a look at the tools needed and the materials that we're going to use for this. So this material is a fairly lightweight pine that's been glued up from like basically the equivalent of a big box store here. Now the reason why I'm using it is because it's inexpensive, and hardwood is actually very difficult to find in Japan, and it's really expensive. So it just did not seem that practical to use. And plus, if I made a mistake on the staircase, which is the first time doing it, it's not going to cost a lot of money or be too much trouble to get the replacement pieces. So let's take a look at how it is put together. I'm not going to go over the rise and run. I'm just going to assume that you know how to do that, or if you'd like, please let me know and I'll make another video and try to go through that process with you. But I figured out my rise and run to get to the 2nd floor. And so the type of stair, the style that I decided to use to put this together is sort of like a concrete step, which means that this does not go down at a 90-degree angle. It cuts back in, and it's about a 1-inch overhang on each step as it goes down. So it's kind of like more of a zigzag pattern. It looks nice, but also the flow of it for walking up the steps is more comfortable. Having that indent is useful, and it's actually required by code if you're building concrete steps or any public steps. And the reason for that is the flow, and that the way that your toe kind of goes when you're walking up the steps, it's safer and it's easier to navigate the stairs. So that said, let's go over the way that you're going to cut the pieces. I have a couple leftover pieces. I made a mistake using my 30-degree angle, and so I have a couple of pieces left over here, and I can on another video maybe show you about the mistakes I made using trying to do the 30-degree angle, which is pretty easy once you can use a calculator or an app, an angle finder app. So I'm using the Makita track saw. I had a Festool for a while, but I decided to leave that Festool in Los Angeles and bring with me a Makita track saw, since Makita is pretty much the dominant brand in Japan. It works almost identically. This is great because it has 2 batteries, and it lasts for quite a long time. I could do another video just on this saw. I like it a lot, and it's at least half the cost of the Festool, so I really recommend it. And then we have the Domino over here, the Festool Domino. And so basically, this particular piece right here is a riser, and I decided to do about a 7¼ inch rise on each one of these. And so what you do is you just lay your track on the larger piece of wood. This comes in sections. These panels, this is a big panel of that wood, and you basically are cutting strips along that using more than a 45-degree angle. So this cordless battery-powered miter saw goes up to, I think it's like a 48 degrees, which is pretty perfect. So I maxed it out for my angle, and I cut the risers and I cut the treads, and then after you cut your risers and your treads, what you then are going to want to do is line these up very carefully, and then you're going to be using a square, just any ordinary square, and you're going to then mark where each, basically here's my pencil line, and all I did is I just lined a square up with this bottom edge and place my mark. It's not sitting flat right now because I've got the dominoes in here. I just wanted to make it easier to show you. But you can see, you just sort of line it up and you mark it there, mark it here, and mark it there. And then you're going to then change the angle of your domino, and it takes a little bit of fiddling. You probably are not going to get it from the first go because it's going to be off just slightly. So you want to do a test on a couple of pieces and see how the angle of the domino is fitting together, because if your angle is not correct, the miter will not come together correctly. Like even if you cut your miter on your saw correctly, if your domino is not at the exact angle it needs to be, your miter is going to pull apart either on the inside edge or the outside edge. And it does need adjusting as you go along. So basically, after you've marked it, then you're going to run your dominoes through it. Now, what I did with this is I actually ran the domino all the way through the piece of wood on this angle, which I've done before on another project. And what you end up with are these, as you can see, the exposed domino. So it's sort of like a little design that you get with it, and it's providing some strength. So you make your domino holes, and then you're going to be able to just put this piece together like so, and like that. And then you're going to pound it in, and then you're going to glue it prior to doing this. And then also I put in some finish nails, and I don't know if the finish nails were necessary, but I just added a few. They're a pain in the neck to fill with filler, but you can barely see them on these. You can see one right there. And so I used a 15 gauge nailer, but again, I don't even think you really have to do it to have these things strong. I added them just, I guess, to help, kind of keep it secure, but it probably was not essential. Then once you've glued up your pieces, I started from the top going down because I wanted to make sure that my top ended up perfectly. I had some play on the bottom of the stair because I'm going to be putting in a floor heating system here, a hydronic floor heating system. So I have a couple of inches to play with, so I felt like if I was off by, say, a quarter of an inch or a half inch or even 1 inch, I could make it up for when I do my finished floor here. Now, the maximum allowed variance between your risers from the smallest one to the biggest one is 3/8 of an inch. So you don't want to be making a big recalculation like on the last 3 steps and all of a sudden make the risers a half inch bigger. It's going to be unsafe, and it's not to code. In Japan it's probably fine, but in the U.S. it's not. The limits for the risers here are much higher. I think you can go as high as over 9 inches for the risers here. The staircase that used to be in this house was almost like a ladder, and you can actually see the angle of it, which is that angle there of that paper is what the staircase used to be compared to what it is now. So that really gives you a good sort of comparison. This right here is standard, and that little newspaper line up there, the old newspaper, is what was here before, which is basically about a ladder. Now, I have these secured underneath using Simpson stair tread metal straps, angle straps, and you can see as they go down. And then at the bottom, where I have no side area to mount the Simpson straps to, I just built a little, sort of stand for these steps. And then I'm going to be covering that with with some finish wood. Now, the reason why these stairs work and why you don't need a center stringer is because the riser is acting as a continuous, basically support, so that when you push on this middle section, like when you're standing on this step here, and it's not going to deflect because it's being held up by the riser, which is then connected to the next one, to the next one. So it's carrying the load all the way down to the bottom. Of course, there's going to be some deflection, which is basically bend, but it's going to be minimal. Now, on a normal staircase where the treads are not integrated into the risers, mechanically fastened. These are really mechanically fastened because I have, on each of these dominoes, I have glue. You've probably seen a steel staircase before, and where it's done in this style, and this is just with wood, and it's it's a little bit thicker, but it's really has a great feel to it, and it's plenty strong. I'll just give you a little view of the second floor here of this house. It's about 100 years old, and currently renovating this, and we can do some other videos. If you're interested, please let me know, hit like, and or leave your comments. Thank you so much.